So you're ready to become an iOS developer in 2026? Awesome. This is your complete guide. We're going to break down the entire journey into a clear, step-by-step plan that'll take you from, well, zero experience all the way to being a job-ready professional. If you've ever looked at one of those giant, sprawling developer roadmaps and just felt your brain immediately shut down, you are not alone. We've all been there. So what we're going to do is cut through all that noise and give you a structured plan you can actually follow. Let's build this path together. All right, here's the game plan. We've got 6 key stages. We'll start with the big picture, then we'll dive deep into mastering the Swift language. From there, we'll start building actual user interfaces with Swift UI, learn how to handle real-world data, adopt some pro-level habits, and finally, talk about how to turn all this knowledge into an actual career. Okay, let's kick things off with the most important question of all. Why this path? Because before we get into the what and the how, we really need to understand why this stuff matters for 2026. And the answer is pretty simple. It's all about what's relevant right now. If you're building apps for Apple's world, for iPhone, iPad, anything, then Swift and Swift UI are the heart and soul of it all. Mastering these means you're learning the exact cutting-edge skills that companies are desperate to hire for. Look, this is absolutely a journey. And yeah, it might feel huge right now. But you've got to remember that every expert developer out there started right where you are, at the very beginning. This roadmap, this is your first step. All right, our first major stop is mastering the Swift language itself. For the first 4 weeks, your only focus is going to be on building a rock-solid foundation. Think of this as forging the essential tools you'll use for everything else. And we're going to break this down into really manageable chunks. Week 1, just the basics. Week 2, we'll learn how to control how your program runs. Week 3 is all about how to structure your data. And then in week 4, we tackle the really cool stuff, error handling and modern concurrency with async await, which is how you get your app to do multiple things at once without slowing to a crawl. These things right here, they are the absolute Lego bricks of every single app you'll ever build. You'll learn how to store info, how Swift's type safety saves you from countless bugs, and you'll get the hang of one of its most powerful features, optionals. The best analogy is a box that might have something in it or it might be empty. Swift just forces you to check before you try and open it, which makes your code incredibly robust. Okay, once you have that solid foundation in Swift, it's time for the really fun part, making stuff you can actually see and interact with. In weeks 5 through 8, we're diving headfirst into Swift UI to bring your app ideas to life. So what even is Swift UI? Well, think of it as a modern box of digital building blocks for your app's interface. The keyword here is declarative. Instead of writing a super detailed recipe of step-by-step instructions, you just describe the final dish you want, and Swift UI figures out how to make it. It means way less code, and it works across every single Apple device. And getting started is actually pretty simple. You arrange things with stacks, you add your views like text and images, you customize them with things called modifiers to change fonts or add backgrounds. And then the magic piece. You use something called @state to tell your interface, hey, when this piece of data changes, you need to update how you look. It's a really simple, powerful cycle you'll use constantly. An app that just looks pretty isn't all that useful, right? It needs to actually do something. It needs data. So let's make our first project a simple weather app, truly functional by hooking it up to real information. Your app is going to juggle 2 main types of data. First, there's local data. That's information stored right on the user's phone. For this, we'll use Apple's fantastic Swift data framework to save things like the user's favorite city. Then there's live data, the stuff we need to grab from the internet. To get the current weather from an online service or an API, we'll use a super popular library called AlmoFire to handle the networking. And honestly, modern tools make this so much easier than it used to be. With Swift data, you just define what your data looks like, set up a place for it to live, and then you can easily grab it, change it, or delete it. It's a really straightforward way to make your app remember things, even when it's offline. All right, you can write Swift code, you can build UIs, and you can handle data. Now, in our final month of this plan, we're going to shift our focus. We're going from just making things work to making them work the right way. This is where you really start to think and act like a professional developer. One of the biggest concepts for pros is architecture, and we're going to focus on a pattern called MVVM. That's model, view, view model. The best way to think of it is like a restaurant. The model is your raw ingredients. The view is the beautiful plate of food you serve the customer. And the view model, that's the chef in the kitchen who takes the raw ingredients and prepares them perfectly for the plate. This pattern keeps your code clean, and I promise you, it's a huge topic in technical interviews. Beyond just architecture, there are 3 skills that are completely non-negotiable. First is source control with Git. It's how you save your work and work with a team without stepping on each other's toes. Second is unit testing, which is how you prove your code actually works and protect against future bugs. And third is debugging, your superpower for hunting down and fixing problems. Every single hiring manager is going to expect you to be good at these. We've made it to the final stage of our roadmap. So let's take all these skills we've been building and connect them directly to the ultimate goal, landing your very first job as an iOS developer. Your interview prep starts right now. First things first, your GitHub profile is your new resume, so make sure that weather app project is polished and documented really well. Next, be ready to not just write code, but to explain your decisions. Why did you use MVVM? How does the data flow? And finally, show them you thought about accessibility, about making your app usable for everyone. That's a huge plus. When you finally sit down for that technical interview, these are the topics that will almost certainly come up. They'll ask about async/await, about how data flows in Swift UI, and about more advanced things like dependency injection. Don't let the fancy names scare you. It's just a professional way to make your code more flexible. Absolutely mastering these topics is what will make you stand out. And just remember, as you start this journey, you are not doing it alone. You are joining a global community of over 313,000 other developers who are on this very same path. So tap into that network, ask your questions, and share what you're building. So there you have it, a clear, structured path from day one to your first day on the job. We've given you the map, we've given you the compass. The only question left is, what incredible things are you going to build with it?